All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. We thought it was important to give an update on negotiations with the Chicago Teachers Union. We wish we were here to announce that a deal has finally been struck. But sadly, another day has passed and the CTU has not agreed to anything. Not a final comprehensive agreement to end this stalemate and give parents and students the options that they want and that they deserve. Let's be clear. We have no higher purpose than for us ensuring our students have the opportunities that they need to thrive. And throughout the past weeks and months, including over 70 meetings with the Chicago Teachers Union since June, we have used every tool at our disposal to try to deliver just that. Unfortunately, yet another day where we and CPS kept fighting for our children and being a voice and advocate for those parents who just want options. And in this day, the CTU leadership has failed and left us with a big bag of nothing. Today, we made what should have been a simple set of asks for the CTU leadership to meet. For the last 2 weeks, we have been negotiating over 8 broad issues, and they are safety and health protocols, ventilation, contact tracing, testing, accommodations for staff, safety committees, revised closing metrics for when a class or a school or the entire district must be shut down, and of course, vaccinations. For some time now, there's actually been agreement in principle on several of these items. But the CTU leadership has refused to put these agreements in writing so that we could focus on the open issues. Now, we said, put the areas where we actually agree in writing so we know where we have agreement and then we can move on to those issues that are unresolved. And we asked for it by 9 o'clock tonight. Essentially gave them a 4-hour window after 70+ meetings, meeting every single day for the last 2 weeks. Unfortunately, 9 o'clock came and went, and we got, meaning our students and our parents, got nothing. We also demanded that we return to the status quo before Wednesday, meaning that the pre-K and special ed teachers who had committed to in-person learning actually come back into the schools. Now, let's reflect. We had 3 weeks of successfully implementing school safety plans that included safety and health protocols, ventilation, contact tracing, testing, accommodations, and much more. 3 weeks of success, which is precisely why the CTU leadership blew it up and created chaos. Hard to argue for more when the status quo of safety in our buildings where people have been in all year round is actually working. So why not just blow it up and create chaos? That's not acceptable. So here's where we are. We still plan to welcome our pre-K and special needs students back to safe in-person learning on Monday, which means those teachers need to be there to greet their students and teach them in person. We also plan as well to reopen in-person learning for our kindergarten through 8th grade students on Monday as well. So we expect those teachers to be there for their students. However, given the current state of negotiations, We owe it to our students and families to prepare for a scenario in which the CTU leadership continues to direct their members not to go back in schools for in-person instruction. Now, if that were to happen, that of course would be a crushing blow to our students and to CPS families. I want to be clear. We remain fully committed to reaching an agreement and getting our kids safely back in school. We are here at this late hour, and we will be here all night if that's what it takes to reach an agreement. I'm here and not home with my family. I haven't seen my daughter since before 8 o'clock this morning when she left to go to school. And that's right, she is in-person learning because it's safe. And that is a choice that my wife and I made for our 12-year-old. We need more than words from the CTU leadership. We need action. And we need it in writing. But if the CTU continues not to show up and fails to work towards an agreement in good faith, then we will have no choice but to take further action. Now, let me be clear. None of us want to go there, and we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to. We reached an agreement, a comprehensive agreement that paid teachers well, brought more equity into our schools just in 2019. Why are we here again? We need the CTU leadership to bargain with us in good faith and get a deal done. It is doable. We can get it done tonight, tomorrow, Sunday, but we need to get it done. Our children deserve nothing less. And if we do not, it is totally on the CTU leadership. Now, some have and surely will argue that remote learning is better than no learning at all. Let me share some data as to why that argument totally fails. Let's start with enrollment. Enrollment this year in CPS is down significantly this year. And we are seeing especially sharp decreases in enrollment in pre-K and kindergarten. Pre-K enrollment is down over 34% this year from last. 44% among Black students, 29% among Latinx students. But folks, it's even worse than that. Those were the enrollment numbers. Let's talk for a minute about absenteeism. 9.2% of CPS's overall student population is not attending either in person or virtually. That's the average. In some schools, despite significant effort to find and bring students back to school, including multiple trips to homes themselves, in some schools, those numbers are significantly higher. And absenteeism among Black students is averaging 13% and more, depending on the school and the location. Let's also talk about what we know from the first quarter grades. Overall, the system-wide, there has been a 3% increase in the number of children who are failing. That means receiving Fs. Black students are failing at 10.9%, up 3 times from last year in the same quarter. They're failing at reading at 11.3%. Failing at math at 11.3%. Latinx students are failing reading at 9% and math at 8.7%. Our children are failing in the basics of reading and math at an alarming rate. Who thinks that any of these data points is acceptable? So when you hear us talk about equity and why this is essential and it has to be part of the calculus about returning to in-person learning, this is precisely why. When I say I fear for our students' future, I'm saying that because of the data that is unmistakable. This is why we are fighting so hard to get a deal done. Our students' futures are hanging in the balance. Make no mistake about it. Throughout the entire COVID-19 crisis, our singular priority has been ensuring the safe instruction of each of our kids, as well as the safety of our entire CPS community. And when we talk about safe, we mean instruction rooted in the data and science of this disease that ensures the safety and protection of our students, our teachers, our school staff, and our CPS families. These are the same rigorous public health standards we have applied in every aspect of our city's response during this terrible pandemic, and we have moved mountains to make that happen in our classrooms, as our students and teachers deserve. Included expanded surveillance testing for students and staff, vaccination prioritization for our hardest hit communities, expanded accommodations for remote work for those who are in need, who themselves have an underlying condition, are the primary caretakers for someone who has an underlying condition. Clear metrics to pause instruction if that is needed. The establishment of health and safety committees and protocols, committees made up of teachers and CPS staff, as well as the establishment of a 10-person contact tracing team to investigate all known COVID cases within CPS. In addition to applying the CDC's primary recommendation for preventing the spread of COVID-19, we have also taken the additional measures to ensure all classrooms used this year are fully ventilated. Our school's indoor quality has been tested by independent state-certified environmental specialists. And to provide an additional layer of protection, CPS purchased 27,000 HEPA air filters for all classrooms and office spaces. $70 million plus and counting that we have invested in our schools to make them safe. We have learned the lessons from the archdiocese and private schools that have had some form of in-person learning since September. And we know our plan works because we had 3 weeks of success. Now, I'm sharing all this data with you to let you know that we take this seriously, that we have heard the teachers, we have heard the staff, and we are there to be your partner, but we need you to partner with us. And I'll say it again, teachers, tell your leadership to meet us at the table. Let's get a deal done. Let's get it in writing. Because our students' lives are hanging in the balance. Now, to all our families interested in learning more about all the measures that we have put in place and that we've committed to ensure your child's safety, to ensure the safety of teachers, principals, staff who have been in our buildings all year long since last March. That information is available at cps.edu/air quality. My friends, these are the facts. And science is science. As our Public Health Commissioner, Dr. Allison Artery, who's here with us tonight, has said, we've seen, quote, over and over again, that mitigation measures are safe and appropriate. We are committed to going the extra mile, and we have done so to make sure that our students and our entire school community can be in person in a safe environment. Now, as evidenced not only by the non-CPS schools that have been operating since the fall, but any number of other industries that have applied these very same measures. And as Dr. Already has also said, schools are simply not the source for COVID spread. Study after study, here in Chicago, across the United States, and across the world. Dr. Fauci just said it again on TV. Make no mistake about it. If you put the kind of measures that we have put in our schools, schools are not the source of the spread of this virus. And let me also say, we're having this conversation in the context of our numbers actually improving substantially. Case rates are going down, positivity rates are going down. All the metrics that we follow and have been following since last spring are trending in the right direction in Chicago. They're not going up, as we've seen some letters being circulated. That's not true. They're going down. They're trending in the right direction because we have taken this seriously. We have done what is necessary to save lives in our city, including the lives of our young people and everyone in our school community. And here again, you can see this in both the CPS students that have safely been back for 3 weeks until this past Wednesday, to the private and parochial schools that have been safely holding in-person instruction since the fall, including Vivian Lightfoot, as well as the daycares that have been safely open all across our city since June. So why are we here at this point with no deal? That's a good question. It doesn't make sense to me. In the face of overwhelming data and science related to this disease, and in the face of widespread expert opinion, the CTU leadership has chosen to deny the facts and delay in-person instruction even further. I want to get a deal done, as do all of these people, because our children and our families deserve no less. We will not abandon negotiations. We will stay at the table for as long as it takes. But we need commitment from CTU leadership to do the same. We've met over 70 times. We'll meet as long as it takes to get a deal done. But we have to make progress, and we've got to do it in writing and then move on to the open issues. It's not too much to ask. It's the right thing to do. It's a typical thing that happens in negotiations. Why will the CTU leadership not agree to that? Why will they not agree and put it in writing so that our residents, our families, our students can see that we're actually making progress? It's not too much to ask. It must be done. At this point, I'd ask Dr. Jackson to come and offer some additional words, and then we will take your questions. I felt like it was important, even at this late hour, because there's a lot of questions and confusion on the part of principals and staff, teachers, about what's happening. We wanted to give you that update. We want to be transparent and tell you where things are. We still see and believe that a deal is in reach. We should get one, and we should move on and tackle the other challenges that we have in our city. Let's get it done. Dr. Jackson.
Sorry. Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot, and good evening, everyone. I don't want to repeat a lot of the things that Mayor Lightfoot said in her remarks, but I do want to echo this notion that we believe that we have a foundation in our comprehensive plan to reach a deal with CTU. Today marks the third consecutive day where CTU's leadership has directed its members to remain home. We cannot afford to lose ground for the thousands of students in our pre-K and cluster classrooms that have been safely getting in-person instruction over the past couple of weeks. For that reason, we are asking pre-K and cluster students, as well as their teachers, to return to the classroom on Monday. The medical community has reached consensus around the safety of reopening schools. Earlier this week, the CDC and Dr. Fauci both endorsed a return to schools plan. And earlier today, Dr. already joined a group of medical professionals here in the area to talk, some of them who were CPS parents, to talk about the many reasons why schools should reopen. Union leadership has chosen to disregard the science on reopening schools and instead replace CDC guidance with their own gut instincts. I don't have to tell you why it's important for our students to be in school. You've heard the numbers, and the equity argument is clear. The truth is there is an agreement to be had if we get cooperation from the union's leadership. As a school district, we have gone above and beyond. The mayor quoted a number, 70 million in building investments, but we are well over 100 million in investments to safely operate and reopen schools. And we will continue to do everything within our power to make sure our students and staff are safe as they return to our schools. This plan has worked for thousands of students over the past 2.5 weeks, and we know that it will work for the other 70,000 students who are looking forward to returning to school on February 1st. Our goal remains clear that we want to reach a deal. We want to reach a deal quickly so that our parents and students have the certainty and stability that they need in order to know that they have options and that their kids will be educated appropriately. For this to happen, we need union leadership at the table with the genuine intent to reach a deal that supports our students and families across the city. At this time, we will now take your questions.
Mayor, first off, you mentioned that K through 8 students are going to continue to be invited to return on Monday.
Yes.
Obviously, that may be very difficult to execute if the teachers don't show up.
Well, it's our expectation that the teachers will show up. Their students are going to be there. They need to be there.
You made reference to further action. Can you expand on what further action you might
Well,
have
I hope we
available?
don't need to expand on that. I mean that sincerely. There should be no reason that we were having that conversation. We need the teachers to be there. Their students are coming back. We need them to be there.
There's a lot of discussion about the language, lockout or strike. If they don't come back,
There again, I'm not gonna speculate about what might happen. What I'm focused on very intensely is getting a deal done. I am with our team. We are in constant contact. We need to get a deal done. We're here at almost 10 o'clock at night on a Friday after 2+ weeks of 7 days a week bargaining, because we know that a deal is within reach. But it's not going to happen if we keep not being willing, the CTU leadership keeps not being willing to put something in writing, not being willing to return to the status quo, which is for cluster and pre-K teachers to come back so their students can learn in person. This is an option that parents have every right to have and expect. We have to be the voice for those students, and we have to be the voice for those parents, 70,000 plus, who opted to come back into in-person learning.
might be a question for Dr. Jackson. If you are able to reach a deal, is it reasonable that the teachers would be able to have their classrooms prepared and all of that in time for Monday?
Yeah, well, the goal was to have them back a week early so that they could prepare. I think teachers would be able to do that. Of course, that's going to be a heavier lift. I should also note that thousands of teachers have been coming into their classrooms this week already, because we know, as a former teacher, no teacher wants to walk into a classroom unprepared. And so we've seen teachers working throughout this week despite some of those directives. And we know the teachers have been in and out of the building working on their classrooms because so many of them expect to see their students Monday and are looking forward to seeing their kids on Monday.
Is there any thought about either of you or both of you joining the discussion directly?
Yep.
We've offered to do that, but we've got to see some actual progress, right? I am here. I am investing time and energy on this issue. Other than our overall response to COVID-19, there's no other issue that's more important right now. But we have to actually see progress. I mean, real progress, not we set a time at 11 and maybe we have a conversation, maybe we don't. We need to see real progress. I've offered to meet with the CTU president. We've offered to go to mediation. Let's get serious, CTU leadership. Let's get serious about actually getting a deal done. Put it in writing, those issues that we agree upon, and then let's move to those issues that remain open.
Thank you, Mayor. If we want to get this on at 10 o'clock, we better not
All right.
ask any more questions.
Thank you. Appreciate you.